Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audiblepodcast.com/Sorgatron Media. Over 75,000 titles to choose from for your iPod, iPhone, or MP3 player.
I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said now. I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said.
What's up, guys? It's the AwesomeCast. Back here again, back in the studio. Hope you guys enjoyed last week when we were out on the couch at the slaughterhouse. If you notice a little bit different with the video, we don't have the AwesomeCast up in the corner. Oh, I pointed the right thing at the right... There you go. And if the video's a little funky, we're still figuring some stuff out. I lost one little piece this big, and therefore I had to take a crash course in the last 20 minutes on Wirecast 4, which just came out, and this is the first time I've opened it. So let's see how this goes, guys. Or you're watching the Ustream version that I converted because we lost this. So we're going with that. With me tonight, as usual, is my trusty co-host. How do I switch cameras on here? Rob De La Creta, how you doing? We have no titles for you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Today, I think I proclaim myself to be God of the universe or something.
Oh, yeah.
At work, yeah. Because we were talking about how everybody at the company that I work at has made-up titles, like Vice President of Inventigration. So I told everybody they should make up amazing job titles, and mine was God of the Universe.
At mine, I became eventually video editor and technologist. I wasn't even sure if that was a word, but there you go.
Oh, you have technologist in your title. That's cool.
Yeah.
I use that, and every time I use it, I wait for somebody to ask me if I made it up.
That's what I asked the first time I heard. But also joining us tonight is, if you're local in the Pittsburgh area, that face is a little familiar to you. On the morning TV, Jim Lokay from KDKA TV2. We have our first television celebrity of sorts with us tonight. How you doing, man?
Loose with the term.
Loose with the term. You never. Hey, you never know. I mean, amongst the Pittsburghers, I mean, the ones that don't want to cross bridges, you're pretty popular.
Well, thank you. No, I'm glad to be here. This is my for as long as I've been playing around online. This is actually the first time I've ever done any. I used Skype a couple of years ago, and I just never used it for anything. So this is it's cool. Like I see the technology being used. This is the first time I've actually used it. I feel like I'm behind the times.
For being the first time using it, you got a fancy headset there.
You know what? I bought this because I wanted to get it on chat roulette, and I just never. No, I'm just kidding.
For story, completely for journalistic integrity, right?
yeah, exactly. It was exactly just for that. It was just to I lost my cord there for a second. I bought this a while ago. It's just a cheap $20 headset from Walmart or somewhere. But yeah, so far so good.
It's amazing the difference that, and from what I understand, Rob's on like some higher end equipment, and we can't figure out why he sounds the way he does. So
yeah,
it's amazing how that works out.
I feel like the Time Life operator, though. It's like one of those things where I'm going to sell you books about plumbing and soffit and fascia.
Oh, I used to do...
You mean you're not? I was really looking forward to that part.
I used to do telemarketing, so that's where I go to. I wasn't very good at it. No, yeah, I know.
I'm terribly sorry for your loss.
Little piece of myself. You had to get through college somehow, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so anyways, of course, you typically you're doing the traffic in the mornings, Jim. And you also keep me abreast of the situations in my long 10-minute commute on Twitter.
Yeah, it's one of those things where a couple of years ago, I and maybe I was alone, but when Twitter first came on the scene and I tried it out, and to me, for some reason, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And so I gave up on it, and it was somebody who we actually played softball with who said, "Why aren't you on Twitter?" And I felt physically intimidated by this person.
Was it Big Bob? It was Big Bob, right?
Fuga.
Oh, gotcha.
So I started using it, and I still wasn't sure what to use it for, and I think it was probably early 2009 when in fact, I think the first time I really used it in its current form was during the Steelers' victory parade in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking pictures and sending them back, and they were going up on the web instantaneously. And I think that was the first time I realized, okay, this will work. This is pretty cool. So kind of morph that into, okay, let's do the traffic. Let's put traffic updates out there. And again, at first when I thought about it, I said, I don't know. And then I think I just thought, okay, it's an extra step. It's more work for me to do in the morning. But as I got into it, I realized, okay, people were responding to this. And when we were having big incidents out there and the station wanted us to send out text alerts, you know, I don't think people who live to the north of here really care what's going on somewhere in the south. Mm-hmm. So this is a chance. This is really a way to pick and choose, and for people to have a little more power over what kind of information we can get to them in the morning.
Definitely. So you say you got a little bit of response. I mean, I know I see you retweeting people's traffic. What does that do information flow for you? Because I mean, are you getting like it's an extra feed for getting traffic updates pretty much live on the internet for you, right?
Yeah, we started basically when I started. The way that we get the information was from there's road sensors and cameras out there, and it's information that actually all three major stations in town access. We all use the same information. So for me, this was an opportunity to get another avenue for us to get it, because at the time our morning news was in third place, and I kind of wanted to give us a little credibility, at least in the perspective of people who are savvy with social media. But in the long run, people started taking pictures of things that happened, and I'd get information. So I felt like we were getting unique information on our end that the other guys weren't getting.
Excellent. Now I noticed. Sorry, I'm trying to use my keys to move, and I forget this is different software. Now I noticed like a lot of people on your. Is this a station-wide initiative to get everybody on Twitter? Because I noticed more and more names popping up over the last several months. Definitely.
It wasn't really. I think, in fact, when we started, I was the only person doing it. And then around the time, one of my old coworkers, Sonny Abata, got on the bandwagon. Mm-hmm. And then we had Stephanie Watson, one of our other anchors, when she was doing the morning news, that she was using Twitter as well. We actually, for a while, we're integrating it. We were doing a Twitter question of the day, which we actually really enjoyed, because there was some interaction out there. And I think the reason I liked it was because, it's one thing to go out somewhere into a parking lot and put a camera in people's faces and say, what did you think about the Steelers' victory, or something like that, and just get these completely ambushed, maybe sometimes not exactly the most intelligent thoughts. Where this, I think we were able to pick and choose, but we noticed that people were actually saying intelligent things to us in 140 characters. So we were asking questions like, what do you think about something the mayor did, or something like that. But no, there's a lot of resistance out there still, though, to people using. I mean, heck, there were a lot of people who would never even think about blogging who work in the local media. But I think, you're stupid if you're not using social media in some aspect to augment what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, also, we notice your name pops up a lot when a lot of social media centric stories come up. When Pit Girl was revealed last year, about this time, or October-ish, or whenever that was, and other stuff to that. Are you the big push for those kinds of stories because of your involvement in the community, or how does that come about?
That was it. I think that there's this push in the media to appeal to a younger demographic, and the target demo out there is people age 25 to 49. I mean, generally speaking, that's where the money is. That's where the salespeople want to get those viewers. You want to get a lot of those viewers because you can get the better products, and you can get the advertisers that pay the money. So I went to management and I said, when it came to the Pit Girl story, we had some people management who thought, this is great. We're finally going to get this story, and there are other people who didn't necessarily get the appeal of it. So it took a little convincing, but in the end, I was happy with what transpired. We try. I think even John Delano, our political editor, has been using Twitter quite a bit. He's been trying to find people, related to this TSA boycott tomorrow. Mm-hmm. He's trying to find people, and I think he was able to hook up with a couple people who were planning on not going through the body scanning tomorrow.
Another thing I noticed is the surprising openness with Twitter. I think I've had a conversation with your weatherman. I think he's at Vers, if I'm not mistaken, or am I mixing stations up? But actually, like I had some commentary about representation of some of the storm systems coming through. Because this is the problem. A lot of people think in Pittsburgh that the next Snowmageddon's right around the corner, and sure. And I made some commentary. And he was very open about like what his station. And I think I've heard commentary from even what KDKA does on these. So I'm really surprised from it. Is there any worry about any backlash in that?
I think that there were some issues at some point with some of the things that were out there. I mean, granted, it's not part of our product. Again, it just augments what we're putting out there.
Yeah.
And I think that if we were to put something on our website on kdka.com that may incite some controversy, it's one thing. I think it's obviously a totally different situation where you're putting it out there on Twitter. You have to be careful. You have to make sure that you're establishing that what you're saying isn't necessarily, a representative of CBS or KDK or anything like that. So, yeah, I think there's a little concern. And I know that there was an issue with somebody who had said some things that were a little controversial, and it was addressed. Mm-hmm. And, we haven't seen that. But yeah, I mean, I think that the good thing about it is that it really does. I mean, it's two things. It kind of humanizes the people on TV a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think you get that aspect and you get that personal perspective, but I think it also it gives you that different vehicle where you can kind of be opinionated without being opinionated.
Yeah, for sure. And do you follow a fake bully Julie Bologna?
Yes, I do. I follow fake Julie Bologna. I think it's one of the most genius. And I have some friends who work over at Channel 11, and there was a little rumor going around that it was somebody came to me and they said, "Hey, I heard it was one of the other meteorologists," which I know for a fact that's not true. Because I think you run a risk if you're working if you're making fun of one of your coworkers that way. But I just discovered last week there's a fake Jim Lokay too, but it's not nearly as good as fake Julie.
Excellent. So Rob, you got any questions there?
I was, first of all, check out my new sweet lighting. I don't know if I think you noticed.
A lot better. I'm glad we switched to you right as you were messing with your nose there. That's good too.
Yeah.
I should warn you.
That is, that's the light from my iPhone 4 is what that is. I turned off the screen lock and I'm using some really awesome free application called like Illuminate or something to turn on the light. And it's incredibly bright. But I was going to say, I feel like, I can't remember exactly who said it, but I feel like I know who runs the fake Julie Bologna account. I can't remember who it was, though. So I can tell you it's nobody at Channel 11.
Well, there you go.
Unless I'm just making things up in my head. What was that?
I said I won't disclose what I know.
Oh, what you know. Okay.
These are trade secrets.
Maybe I am making things up. I was going to say one of my favorite Jim Lokay memories would be Snowmageddon last year, glass of milk, Dixie cup, rotating Christmas tree, Jim Lokay in sweatpants.
That was we had an ice storm prior to Snowmageddon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, it was a Sunday morning, and we don't go on air. We don't have a Sunday morning newscast. So there was so much going on. I apologize if I keep going dark here. My computer keeps kind of wanting to go to sleep. I pulled up Ustream in my living room, and I have a rotating Christmas tree. It's a beautiful tree.
Classic.
And I sat there just talking about traffic, and it turned into, I think it degraded into a little bit of a different conversation for a while, but it was fun. I think it's something that, if anything, I kind of realized, okay, that we have the technology, and there's so much emphasis in, these, going back to like the Iraq War. Yeah, I'm bringing in the war. I'm tying in the war to this.
We just went from revolving Christmas tree to Iraq War. Just wanted to say that.
Just put it out there.
The guys with the satellite phones, it was just horrible transmission. And just think about how the technology's changed. And just to think, how many years, and we're talking about, it's a matter of years, I mean, there are stations using Skype now to do live shots. And I think it's going to be the standard very soon because it's so inexpensive. And, You know, and you can do interaction like this.
Well, I think I've heard stuff about people on Twit have actually shown up on CNN using Skype. But of course, you know, they're on the forefront of things with their 3D technology and
The hologram.
or the Princess Leia hologram. Was that for the election? I mean,
yeah, it was.
I know.
It was bizarre.
I know I've seen it on MSNBC and I may have seen it on Fox, but they like to refer to Skype as state-of-the-art video streaming technology.
From Sweden.
Like they use it adamantly as just like a regular thing. They're like, via state-of-the-art satellite video technology, and it has a little Skype logo in the bottom right-hand corner.
I wonder if they paid for that. I wonder if like Skype sponsoring in on some CNN action there. Well, excellent.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, excellent. Hey Jim, thanks for joining us. I'd like to, stay on. We'll talk about some stories, and I'd love to get your opinion on a lot of stuff going on out there.
Sure.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, Rob, what do you want to hit up first? Seat of our pants.
Well, we seem to warm our jets with Apple every week, so why change now?
Yummy apple.
Let's see, a lot of things. It's the usual topic of Apple is doing something new this week, and I really kind of hate the fact that every week we end up talking about Apple in some capacity, because realistically, you think, there's a lot of Apple haters who would say, like, why do you have to talk about Apple? Everybody else is doing something. I can guarantee that Dell has put out, 20 press releases this week. They may have been important. Samsung has the whole tablet nonsense, but nobody cares. And I really just, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just one of those things where, because something that recently popped up on my feed last night, I believe, there's word that there's going to be another announcement on December 9th, I believe, as early as December 9th, in regards to a subscription service for the iPad for magazines and newspaper publications and things like that.
Yeah, and this kind of goes... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that goes along with the big news now is Rupert Murdoch starting a new, pretty much newspaper company for iPads and tablets. The name of it escapes me, but I've heard about it so much today. I want to say it's called The Daily. Something
sounds right.
Effect. They hired about 100 new people. It's going to be like a 99-cent a week publication, and it's going to be digital only, but only to iPads, tablets, whatever formats they sign on to. So this isn't even something I'm going to be able to get in a web browser on my computer, which is an interesting play on things.
Well, I also think the reason that, as much as I hate Rupert Murdoch, as I think we discussed last week, is he's one of those many people in old media who is struggling so hard to hang on to the old media paradigm, but in starting something that will publish only to tablets, what he does is he creates an infrastructure for something that the publishers are going to want to engage with. Instead of saying, like, well, even though we already publish this content here, we push this stuff here and there, saying, no, this is a one-channel distribution method. It is on the tablet or it does not exist at all.
Yeah.
It opens venues for exclusive content, for things in addition. Like, even though you're already paying for the Wall Street Journal, you would pay for this in addition to that. Who's going to be on it and all that is still up in the air. But just the fact that it exists is kind of promising, not in that it is the best way to go about it, because, we're all about, sharing freedom of information and all that good stuff. But it provides a comfort zone for anybody who wants to push content out. And I think it's baby steps in the right direction.
Guys, what amazes me is it was 1997 that this was a high school career day at East Allegheny High School, and one of our graduates at that point was writing for the Post-Gazette. And this is when I know when I had America Online, they had AOL Newsstand, where you had pretty much every a lot of newspapers, and it was such a big deal that they're putting their content out there online. And I remember asking this woman, do you ever see a time when people are going to give up their newspapers and sit in front of a laptop? And I think that was proven, well, maybe not necessarily in that form, but now that the iPad's out there and you have all these other tablets. I mean, I know that USA Today, I think, has a great iPad app that I use, and I'm surprised that, you know, they're doing the smart thing. They pushed it out there for free. They're going to charge for it eventually. But I think, you know, you do need that extra content. I mean, it's one thing to just take a newspaper and convert it to pad form, but, you know, to find unique ways of making it worthwhile, as opposed to just saying, oh, look, here's a video of the press conference in addition to a story about the press conference. You know, it's a great opportunity to give more context. So we'll see if it works.
Definitely. Along with that, part of the all the announcements of 4.2 for iPad, iPhone, iPod Touches was released yesterday. I installed it on my phone. I didn't see much difference, but it's really more for you guys with your iPads. Have you guys had a chance to dive into that yet?
Yeah, I grabbed it yesterday. As soon as I got home from work, I popped it on. I actually have seen a bit of difference in the iPhone. It could be all made up in my head, but it feels faster.
Now,
but it could have been
one aspect of it is you have an iPhone 4, and I know one of the things added is Find My iPhone is now free, but you require an iPhone 4 in order to sign up for the account. I'm having an issue with. Oh, wait, Jim's showing off.
Is that what it is? I thought it was free for everybody.
Well, that's the claim, but if you go look it up, is Jim showing off his iPhone 4?
And my Words with Friends game.
Your Words with Friends? Are you winning?
I can't show mine off because it's lighting my face.
Oh, that's right. Oh, there you go. Some applications. There's my old school 3GS. But yeah, because I was like, okay, you have to attach it to a computer, sign up for Mobile Me. Okay. Then I go to the instructions. In order to sign up for free account, must have iPhone 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go look up Find My iPhone under the 4.2 on Apple.com, and you'll find that information, I think.
Because I didn't have to plug my phone into my computer or anything to do it.
Did you already have Mobile Me set up?
Nope.
I've had it, and honestly, the reason that I've kept Mobile Me, I mean, you know, now it was great to have the syncing, but I had it for the Find My iPhone, and obviously I have it for the Find My iPad as well. But, you know, now that this is free, you know, I'm seriously considering when my Mobile Me expires in 30 days. I mean, if I can sync through Google, you know, why bother paying the extra $100, you know, for the syncing and for the @mobileme.com address? That's all I'm paying for.
Yeah, I had a hard time justifying it. I'm like, I don't need the web space. I have my own servers. I have my own, you know, a Gmail that I'm using. Find My iPhone wasn't worth $100 for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is a fantastic feature, and it's, I mean, you can browse around YouTube and find plenty of people who have recovered lost or stolen iPhones and iPads using the feature. But realistically, like you said, it's before the Find My iPhone feature, there was nothing compelling about Mobile Me unless you didn't understand the internet and the fact that, like, hosting should not be that expensive. And like before Gmail and all that, sure, it was cool, the .Mac account. But as far as I'm concerned, the Find My iPhone feature is what made it worth the $100 potentially, even though I didn't buy it. And now that they made it free, the Mobile Me account goes back to being completely worthless.
Yeah. And I think too that, you know, I know Motorola's been, you know, pushing with the Droid X, their own version. You know, there's a free app out there for the Droid where you can find your Droid, which was great. I think it involves a little more setup. It's not as simple and straightforward as Find My iPhone. But, you know, since they were pushing that as free, I think Apple really felt the heat and they had to go out there and do it.
So this is like a feature match on their end. I actually have pulled up the Engadget, and it says update. Okay, this is strange. It says it's free for all devices running 4.2.1, but you can only register for the service from an iPhone 4, iPad, iPhone 4, iPad, or new iPod Touch, unless you pay for Mobile Me. So me with the 3GS until I get my iPad. But still, the site that I brought up does say you have to use an iPhone 4, although I might have been in the iPhone section. So that might explain why there was that distinction.
It might have been a contextual thing, and they were just saying you can't do this through the iPhone 4 or something. Because, like, for me, I didn't have to plug it into my computer or anything. I downloaded the Find My iPhone app, and it said, hey, wait a second, you need to log into Mobile Me on your phone. Go into your settings and go to Mobile Me, and go to settings, go to syncing with calendars and all that stuff, and you select Mobile Me. And I entered my iTunes account information, then it verified it. Then I go back to the Find My iPhone app, and it all worked fine.
I'm actually I'm going to try that while we talk here. Then see if now I know I've signed up for a trial before for Mobile Me, so I'm wondering if that's still in there because I definitely I don't use it on a regular basis for sure. So
other things in 4.2, there is a bunch of fluff, like change the hardware toggles on the iPad from being an orientation lock to a software function. Mm-hmm. You can now mute sound and control brightness, and there's a shortcut to an app in there. I think you can cool. Search on pages in Safari. You can get you can like or dislike videos in YouTube. You know, that's super important. FaceTime button in SMS. New parental controls. MIDI support. You can individually control the iPhone ringtone volume. There's also new text messaging sounds. Only for iPhone 4, but what really confused me, okay, first off, you update, and then you go into your settings, you look at... you look at, like, the sounds, and it actually designates what is new and what was there before. Like, there's a section that says new, and it lists all these new sounds, and all of them are awful audio quality.
Yeah, they're not good at all, and they're you know, I want something short, I want something succinct. And these are all. I mean, it's nice. It's nice that, you know, change is always a good thing. But I mean, this is one of my, like honestly, can you see yourself in a formal setting or a business setting, and this is what you get? I mean, or this.
But
so,
really,
I don't know.
Really, is that any better than the default Droid message?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, I've been in a few workplaces with people with Droids since, you know, being on Verizon business phones, that's kind of like the hot choice right now. And it'll come up and it's just like, oh, geez, how do you put up with that?
Something that really surprises a lot of people, including me, is that we get this update that has a seemingly hilarious bundle of old-timey style text message tones. There's like an old news one and like a typewriter, and it's all really funny and right from a Victrola, but you still can't customize it. You still can't. You can make a custom ringtone, but you still can't make a custom message tone. I'd really like to talk to whoever's making that decision.
Was enabled, but you would probably. I haven't really looked through it that thoroughly. You know, I actually was lucky to get my hands on a copy of 4.2 for the iPad last week. I will say, even though I'm having a heck of a time getting my wireless printer going, I'm having a rough time with my. I bought an HP wireless printer. I can't get it working with Verizon for some reason with my Verizon Action Tech router. But the wireless printing from the iPad and the iPhone, that's huge, and that was great. It's something that I think was long overdue.
Hey, I'll throw this out there. So just because you mentioned it, I also have one of those Verizon Action Tech routers, and for some reason, this laptop here that we're recording this on decided that I can't get on the internet in my own house. But it will work on the Windows 7 side of it and on any other place. So I think those have been a problem. So if anybody out there has any Action Tech router experience, please let us know. So, Rob, you're good.
We do it?
Go for it.
Okay. Air printing. Air printing is kind of I feel like it almost sits in a gray area because there's a lot of people like moi who don't print anything. I mean, I'm a designer, so like I will print proofs and things like that, but most of what I do is done digitally. But there's still like a handful of things that need to be printed, and I feel that as much as we hate printers, and as someone who also worked in the IT field for many years, as much as most of the world hates printers, and printers continue to be that one piece of hardware that never works, it's still something that we depend on for like printing out your taxes and printing out any kind of form or rebate forms that are still in paper and stuff like that. So it's one of those features where Apple shot just a hair too far into the future by not supporting wireless printing. And then everybody's like, really? Are you kidding me? I can't even print out the receipt from my Apple Store purchase. And so they had to give in to it, and now everybody's happy.
But again, does this kind of lend to a world where the big commercial these days is it HP that's doing internet printing, where you send an email and it'll print out automatically somewhere?
Yeah, I feel that's such a weird meshing of old and new technologies.
Yeah, well, I think you can create your own wolf.com with that.
Yeah.
As I was watching The Office this week, and for those that don't know, on The Office, the intern came up with a startup where it's called a Wolf, and it texts you, emails you, faxes you, prints to you all at the same time, so you don't miss them. And that's
like the commercial for HP is makes it really obvious that it's a really awkward meshing too, because they're like, you could be standing in this room and hit print, and it travels over the internet and it comes out in the printer. That's amazing. And like 5 years from now, people are going to say, wait, hold on. So it was already in digital form, right? Which was perfectly good, readable anywhere on the planet on a mobile device. But hang on, let's transfer it to this thing that's using technology that's easily 15 years vintage and print it out on a physical tree that you're going to hold in your hand. Wow, what a great idea.
Or send documents to print out for your poor secretary back at the home office.
Yes, exactly. The secretary I keep at my home office.
Yeah,
Her.
exactly. Because
Well, on something just kind of unrelated to kind of related but not necessarily related, and I think that's interesting from the standpoint of somebody who works in news is, everybody wonders, okay, you see the anchors with the scripts at the desk, but there's the teleprompter too. Mm-hmm. And the reason that is because a lot of times the prompter gets off track and you want to be able to look forward. But there are a lot of stations now that have eliminated paper scripts altogether, and they're just putting iPads at the anchor desk.
Really?
So the scripts are right there. Now that's a good, in terms of saving paper. You ought to see the amount of paper that we waste in a day. But you kind of lose, depending on what kind of connectivity you have in the studio, you lose the ability to update on the fly. It's easy for a producer to come in and hand us a new script, but it's not necessarily easy, especially if you're working on just on an iPad to go in and update a PDF file that quickly.
Yep. And there's also AirPlay, which I was really excited about it until I read it in detail. Honestly, writing for Macworld, I should probably pay more attention to these kind of things, but I just kind of made up a bunch of features in my head that don't exist. I was really hoping that I would be able to stream things like video from iTunes on my laptop to my iPad or maybe my iPhone, and it just doesn't work that way. Actually, John Gruber over at Daring Fireball has done a pretty good job of tracking the limited video support in AirPlay. It seems like this is, the way he puts it is that AirPlay will be a killer app on the iPhone and the Apple TV, but it is currently not, based on limitations. But the weird thing is nobody knows quite why. There's some speculation that it's a HD bandwidth type thing. And the other thing is that it's very limited in the applications that actually support it. The only thing that supports it right now, as far as being able to send video to your TV, is the video application on the iPad and the iPod Touch, and YouTube. Nothing else works. It's all audio only. The example he brings up is that it would make sense that you shoot a video on your iPhone, you want to show it off to your friends and family on your Apple TV, and you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Now I've heard mixed reports, because that's the opposite of what I've heard on that. Because I've heard somebody tried streaming it. Maybe it's because of where they were coming from, and said an HD video streamed no problem on there. I've also heard mixed reports on performance. I think it was Steve over at the Tech Buzz says didn't notice any differences, and I think Andy Anako on MacBreak today was saying you're starting to feel, kind of the A4 chip in there getting a little stretched. Another thing I think I read was saying that you're not really seeing much difference. I think it's the Engadget review. Says you don't really much difference in the multitasking, even though there's half the RAM in the iPad as I think the new iPhone. Mm-hmm. Now, what have you noticed as far as performance, Rob?
Well, considering I don't have an Apple TV and the streaming that I wanted to do, I can't do, I haven't been able to use it at all.
Oh, what about general applications and the task?
General applications, maybe a little bit faster, if anything, certainly not any slower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I was just trying AirPlay with a video that I have on my iPad right now because I wasn't aware that's where it was. I was playing around with it, and I just tried streaming about a 1-minute video that I shot and edited on my iPhone, and I put it on my iPad. And as I'm trying to play it on my TV, it does take it's not exactly the fastest to load up. So, it obviously has a lot of there's a lot of wrinkles they got to work out on that. But I mean, it's a good start. It's at least nice to have.
You really do have the straight Apple lifestyle over there. Apple TV.
You know what? I got the Apple TV because I really wanted to I really wanted something to watch to stream Netflix off of, and I tried hooking. And I've hooked the MacBook up to the TV before, but I figured for $99 it was worth it.
Yeah.
But I will say, and if you don't mind, I was just kind of like maybe getting ahead of myself here, but I think it ties into the whole Netflix situation right now because I just noticed people are going nuts over this on Twitter. They're going nuts that they're jacking up. I guess if you want to stream but not get that one DVD a month, you're going to go down to $7.99. If you want to stream and still have that one DVD, it's going up to $9 a month. And, I think regardless, it's great that they're still preserving this model because with Hulu, Hulu Plus is fantastic, but for me, it just doesn't make any sense to buy because, I'd love to be able to sit at my desk and watch something on my TV. I don't want to watch an episode of, like Lost on my MacBook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, well, I guess you don't have Hulu Plus on the Apple TV just yet, correct?
No.
So
no, they haven't. I don't know if it's what the plans are. I haven't seen anything concrete that says they're considering it. But I was going between a couple of things, and I was looking at the Boxy Box, but I think that doesn't support Netflix.
And
Hulu.
Boxy's also having the same problems that the Google TV has, and I think they're starting to get blocked from some of the content providers.
Yeah, and I think obviously the era of the media right now, it's all about on demand. I mean, it's the same reason that I think local news you're going to see a radical way in how you get local news over the next couple of years. Because the fact that I can, with all honesty, guys, my iPhone can shoot better quality video than some of our field cameras can.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're talking about, a $200 phone as opposed to a, $10,000 camera.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just, it's this on-demand culture we're moving into.
Yeah, I was surprised. I actually did some shooting last week with somebody from WPXI, and I was amazed. It was and it was I have this Panasonic. I don't have the number out because I have the screen flipped. But it's a smaller cam, probably like 3000 when it came out. And this is a giant Canon XL1, still SD.
Yeah.
The people haven't gone around to updating this thing. And there's you with your iPhone 4. You're doing what is it, 720p, right?
Yeah.
We're passing around flip cams. To all the people in some of these nonprofits and at steel mills and stuff, and some of the work I do, and those are $200 devices, at the most usually. So has your station had much dealings with like receiving videos or anything like that, like eyewitness kind of stuff?
We've used it quite a bit, and. Okay. The problem is you have to have the infrastructure to be able to receive the kind of videos. It's one thing to email a video, but in our setup, we're still a linear newsroom. We don't have, we're not all digital. The videos that we play, we still shoot on tapes, we still edit on tapes. Mm-hmm. So we don't have a mechanism in which you email us a video and we can put it right to air. It actually has to, in some cases, still get dumped down onto tape, and a lot of time. It's a matter of actually setting a camera up in front of that TV and shooting it.
Oh, wow.
And then putting it on the air. But we do get it, and it's invaluable. Especially now, we'll get a lot of still pictures still. I think that's still the norm. We're still likely to get more still pictures of breaking news than video. But, regardless, we do our best to get it on the air. And in many cases, we get it on fairly quickly. but yeah, again, it's you're going to see a lot more of that, and CNN's doing it. I don't know. A lot of the time, CNN, I don't necessarily know why you'd want an I report about a corn festival in Iowa, but to each their own.
Human interest, easy human interest, right?
Sure.
Well, yeah, I think even CBS has had an eyewitness. I think there's an eyewitness app that they had. I saw maybe a year ago. So it's definitely making its rounds as far as that goes. Definitely. Take it back around. I wanted to clarify because I think the numbers were a little bit off from what you were saying. For the Netflix plan, it's going up to $9.99 for the disc, $7.99 for the streaming, and everybody else is going to see pretty much $1 increase. I think from about 3 discs on, you're going to see about a $3 increase. And of course, it's interesting because we just had Hulu Plus lowered their price to $7.99. You still have commercials. That's the thing that really interests me about that is you're getting more content, but you still have the commercials. You're not getting rid of that, and it feels like they're trying to pump more in there little by little. But some of the comments that came along with this. Now, I'm a one disc user. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really feel much of the dollar because I think our prices dropped $1 a couple years ago. So I think we're just returning to the norm, if anything. And that might have been just a move to get more people on to get the streaming as big as it is now. But some of the comments on there, they're saying their users are seriously using the streaming more than the discs.
Oh, yeah. And something that they've been stressing a lot in the last year is that they're watching their DVD numbers plummet through the floor. Mm-hmm. And they're also seeing the cost for them to have the DVDs slowly rise through the ceiling. Mm-hmm. So this is really just a cost of operation overhead type move. They're basically just trying to encourage people to, because there's certainly a large margin of Netflix users who don't even think about using the streaming that's available to them already.
Yeah. Some people don't have the bandwidth.
Yeah. Some people don't have the bandwidth, certainly. But for most of the people, I think that most people who use Netflix are the people who have a relatively decent internet connection. They're connected people to some degree. Mm-hmm. Or their grandparents, and this is encouraging people to kind of kill off the DVD. I mean, it's certainly a medium that's long in the tooth. It's a medium that doesn't provide any benefits compared to anything available today, except for the fact that it's a physical disc. I can give it to somebody. It still works on the sneaker net. That's my one benefit for a DVD.
Yeah, and there's content, of course, you're not going to see on the streaming. I like to get the newer DVDs. I'm a big wrestling fan, so a lot of those sets I like getting. But for everything else, it's really to the point where I think, well, is this a movie I can wait till it gets on streaming? Am I, the bother with that? And of course, just the penetration they've had for devices. I mean, I've actually watched some Battlestar Galactica episodes on my iPhone because it comes up better than when I'm on the Wi-Fi when I was at the mall trying to get some work done the other day. Jim's sitting there with 3 devices, I think, in that room that run Netflix, including the Apple TV there. I'm running it on the Xbox. It's on every game console. And how many millions of users is that? There's really no excuse not to try Netflix at this point.
Something I'm kind of curious about. I think it's going to start to become the hot futurist question. Mm-hmm. How far off are we from a day when instead of saying this movie coming to DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, it's going to say this movie coming to Netflix or whatever? I mean, Netflix is certainly in a position to create an exclusive marketplace that absolutely replaces physical media. I mean, everything is so connected at this point, we can't be too far off from just chucking it all together. I mean, there's so many TVs now that have Netflix built into them without any kind of standalone box. I think we're right around the corner from that kind of distribution method.
Definitely. Jimmy.
Well, and you think about it, I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right, I think, in that regard. And the comment I just saw, which is true, I just read that about Netflix accounts for 20% of peak U.S. internet bandwidth, which is mind-boggling, but it's true. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, Rob, and you bring that up about that kind of exclusive content, is that Conan O'Brien was in talks with Microsoft for a little while after he left NBC about possibly putting together a distribution deal in which his show would be distributed via Xbox. which, obviously that didn't happen. And I think that he's in a better position where he is right now. But I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, again, it just goes back to everything of an on-demand culture.
Mm-hmm. We're seeing more of it. One of my big complaints have been, again, that live, for me, Monday Night Raw, live sports aside from football, even though that's starting to go cable now. But you're starting to see plans like the NHL has a Game Center plan. I think there's some blackout rules that kind of mess with you if you want to, say, catch the Penguins in Pittsburgh. But they're still putting offerings out there. So ESPN3 popped up on the Xbox. I play with that a little bit, of course, with some college games and everything, but the interface is slick and it looks really good from what I've seen of it. So Riz in the chat room also just uses streaming, rarely uses DVDs. And that was Juggalo John with that comment from before I wanted to get in there. It's really changing things. I'm considering cutting the cord again and just putting the antenna up so I can still get KDKA.
There you go.
Yep.
I did it before, and it wasn't that bad. And again, better picture than you're going to get for what you pay for, right? With that over-the-air connection. So, let's bring it around here, and oddly, back to the portable devices from what I got here. 2 stories about games, actually. Rovio feels the burn of Android fragmentation, plans a light version of Angry Birds. Now, Rob, you said that we covered this a little bit last week. There wasn't much to say, but I think one of the big points of this, and I actually got to see this firsthand this past weekend. Of course, Chachi's been on the show. He's still sporting his G1 and has Angry Birds. And I know the other night he spent about 2 hours playing the thing. I don't know how, because it's the most excruciating experience in my life as far as video games. This thing was so slow. It really felt like you took Doom and tried to run it on a 286. Okay. That's probably dates me, but still, like that's what I think about. It's like, oh, this is just not a computer fast enough to play this, but they're planning to do a light version, not a light as in a limited version, but, something for lower end phones using, they say Android 1.6 or earlier. So, there's a little bit of the real world problem with their fragmentation there. But I guess to a point, you can say the same thing about the iPhone, because I don't know that you can run some of these newer games on, like, say, a 2G.
Probably not. And I mean, when Rovio is talking about fragmentation, part of it is certainly old hardware, and part of it is just different hardware.
Yeah.
It's really a magnification of, like, I'm a Mac guy. I know you're partially a Mac guy. I assume Jim is kind of a Mac guy.
Kind of.
No, not at all.
Oh, not at all? Only in your mobile devices and your TV?
I'm running this on an Amiga. What are you talking about?
Classy.
Nice. But what was I saying? Oh, right. Whenever I'm making, the inevitable I'm a Mac guy because argument, part of being a Mac person is understanding the value of a system that is created entirely with the same hardware, the same architecture, and the same specs in mind. One of the reasons that OS X is really dependable is because OS X is developed for the Apple line of products and nothing else. So one of the reasons the UX experience on the iPhone and the iPad is solid is because iOS is developed for nothing but the iPad and the iPhone, and they each have separate versions. Mm-hmm. And they're specialized for that purpose.
And now the Apple TV, remember?
What's that?
And now the Apple TV, remember?
Right. And now the Apple TV. Whereas when you have Android, you have the same base, and then whatever horrible concoction that phone manufacturer wants to slap on top of it. A great example of how terrible this can come off is the laughing stock that the Galaxy Tab seems to be getting, because the Galaxy Tab, although it has sold something like 600,000 units already, it is basically the Android phone OS slapped on a 7-inch device. You're not getting any kind of benefit from that screen real estate because it's not specially developed for the tablet, and nobody developed the user interface to make use of it. Mm-hmm. So when Rovio is trying to come up with a game that has pretty decent graphics, makes pretty good use of system resources, instead of looking at, this is the iPhone, this is the current iPhone, this is what the next one's probably going to look like, and these are the last 3 revisions, they're saying, okay, here's a swath of like 30 different devices, all with different hardware, chipsets, manufacturers, button layouts, video graphics processors, memory sets, the whole 9. Which one are we going to shoot for?
Yeah.
Because it's all in the same marketplace.
It's funny that base, and no, actually to a point, it's not all in the same marketplace, because my Chachi with the G1 and my other friend with the MyTouch, Kyle, they have not been able to download Angry Birds until recently. So they are limiting what you have access to. And we see that again with certain applications that are only available to, say, Verizon phones or certain Droid phones. Like I think the Blockbuster app is only available on specific models because of deals that they've cut. So there is even a fragmentation, much like I can't find iPad-only apps on my iPhone. You can't find... there we go.
Oh. So sorry about that.
No problem. Understandable. Kind of a side note. Have you seen the Angry Birds Peace Talks?
Yes, I have. That is incredible.
Great. Just type that into Google. It'll come right up. It's fantastic. And also,
it is also not safe for work, we should mention.
Oh, definitely not. And it's also the Angry Pigs is going to be the sequel for the game, not the video. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that marketplace thing you talk about also creates a disjointed user experience as far as like with the iPhone, you go to the App Store, and everything you see there is pretty available. Even if you have an iPad, everything that you experience on the iPhone, you can grab it. It might not look pretty because it's made for the iPhone or the iPod Touch. They make that known. But when you have an Android device, walking into the marketplace is like going into a grocery store, and half the things you pick up on the shelf, you go to put them in your cart, and they just wander back to the shelf. They're not allowed to be in your cart. You can't use them.
There you go. Also, kind of another comment of fragmentation. Well, a positive for iPhone. I actually got to check this out. The Rage HD came out from id Software. Of course, Rage is their big game that's been, I don't know when the console and, computer versions are supposed to be, but this came out. It's more like a preview. Let's see if I can find and pull it up here for a little bit. But they have a regular 99-cent version and an HD version for $1.99, which I think the HD is interesting because in the past, HD apps have been distinguished an iPad version, especially with the EA. For this, it's iPhone 4 and iPad.
I kind of wonder I feel like a week from now I'm going to be able to go to the App Store and read the reviews, which is always full of the finest quality of stimulating intellectual conversation. And it'll have a bunch of people complaining, thinking that I thought this was, optimized for the iPad, even though right over there it says iPhone. I know it says that, but it says HD, so it's got to be for the iPad.
But it actually does. It's a universal app, and the HD specifically says optimized higher graphics for iPad and iPhone 4. So whether it's not Retina display, there's definitely an improvement. I actually, again, anticipating an iPad in my near future, I picked up the HD version, and it runs and looks good on an iPhone. So there it is. I don't know. You can see a little bit there, I think. I'm sure this is no representation of how good it looks. I'm getting killed. But it's basically kind of like if you play Doom Resurrection, it's on rails, but if you see it, you aim by moving it a little bit. So they're using that, and I just got a tweet from DJ Lunchbox. Look at that. But it's an interesting direction with it. And again, it's only 3 levels, but it's $1.99. So not too bad as far as that goes. But pretty impressive even on my 3GS. But I think it's interesting that they took that move to alter the meaning of HD as far as that goes.
To join it all together is kind of weird, and it almost makes you question why everybody else is choosing to completely separate it absolutely instead of saying what makes the user a lot happier, which is saying that you can buy this app and it's made to look really pretty on the iPhone 4 and made to look really pretty on the iPad, And you get that experience all for one low price instead of saying the usual, which is typically a 3-app set. There's the free app, there's the the ad-free app or whatever for a little bit more on the iPhone 4 with the Retina graphics and all that. Mm-hmm. And then there's the HD version, which is iPad only, not for use on the iPhone.
A little bit from the comments. Hot Wheels in there, who usually joins us for the Wrestling Mayhem show. Yeah, I know that my white balance went off when I held up the iPhone too. He says he's rocking Angry Birds on Cricket. I think it's interesting that these more regional, the Android's getting spread out to these more regional carriers like this. Which we don't see with the iPhone, and maybe we will in the future with a Windows phone. But that's definitely becoming more accessible. Although, again, if you get one of those lower end ones, he's still waiting on 2.1 for Cricket, but he can play as Angry Birds. So again, more of the fragmentation, like he's having a different experience. I've seen his phone. It seems like, I think it's a little smaller than the ones I've seen. Like it's probably more akin to like a MyTouch, which, seems like a smaller phone to me. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm catching up with the chat room. I know there was a question here for Jim from Hot Wheels who recognized you as Cal U's own Jim Loke. He wanted to ask what you thought of the redesign down there on campus, if you've been by.
I still get down there on campus because I'm on a couple. I'm still involved down there, and it's amazing. I mean, from when I went down on the campus for the first time back in 1998. And to see it now, it's beautiful. It's amazing. I mean, they're about to open up a 5,000-seat arena on campus.
Wow.
And they're quick to point out it's going to be the largest of a building that's type between Pittsburgh and Morgantown, which I think that rules out a couple high schools, but that's about it.
Wow. Yeah, I was actually down there for a wrestling show a couple months ago, and it was the first time I've been to Cal U. And it's weird how it's nestled in between the mountains on the round of the river and everything. You feel very isolated down there.
Yeah, if you live down there, you especially feel isolated in a town that has one stoplight and
no fast food.
No, hold on. There's a Dairy Queen. It's open year round.
Oh,
there's a Subway and there's a Quiznos.
I heard. Are they still there? Because I heard they were booted out.
Who's that?
But all those, I heard I was just looking for a bite to eat after a show, and they're like, "Oh, some place called Chancey's or something." I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Campy's.
Campy's, yes. I was like, give me a McDonald's. Yeah. I'm on the road. Come on.
No, we don't have anything like that. Come on.
But Jim, thanks for joining us. We're running right into the Mayhem show now, unless you want to stick around for that.
I got a dog that once walked.
Excellent. So tell everybody, where can people find out, online? Of course, here in Pittsburgh, you're on KDKA too. But where can people find out more about what you're doing online or whatnot?
Well, we have you can check me out online. We have a Facebook page for KDK TV Morning News. I have my own Facebook page, which is Jim Loke, and then of course my Twitter account is. Hold on, I want to be a little more dramatic with this, but unfortunately I can't. But there is my. There you go. Hold on. Wait for it. There you go.
Making up for us not having titles today.
Look at that. Lower third. Okay, more like upper 75th.
Fantastic.
But thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and you're welcome back anytime, sir. Rob, what's up with you this week? What's going on? Anything for people to check out?
Nothing new, really. Boring week.
Fantastic.
Trying to rebuild my Steam engine, and that's. I'm not kidding. I'm actually trying to rebuild the Steam engine that I keep on my desk at work.
This is not a metaphor.
And yeah, this is not a metaphor. This is not an innuendo. This is not to be misconstrued. But yeah, doing a bunch of stuff and a bunch of things. I've got a lot of photos from the baristas to take a look at. Probably get to that. But other than that, using the internet, writing a lot of stuff for Macworld. It seems like a lot of people just realized that I write for Macworld. I've gotten like 3 messages in the last day of like, hey, I saw your article on Macworld. I didn't know you did that. Oh, well.
So
but yeah, Yeah, you can. I'm on the Twitters, robjdlc.com, and I'm on the Tumblrs and the Twitters and the Flickrs and the Facebooks. Not on the Plurks anymore. I don't think anybody's on the Plurk.
You sound like Sarah Palin.
Yes, I can. I can see. I can see. I don't know, Silicon Valley from here. But,
What is that? I missed.
I don't even know.
I don't know where that went.
I can see Cuba from the top of my house. Anyway.
Fantastic. You can check out what's going on with me over at sorgatron.com. Actually, you might be interested. I don't know if you talked about on this show, but Chris Maverick is involved with something called 365 on Flickr. The self-portrait a day for a year. I kind of stumbled into deciding I wanted to do that yesterday because I've been wanting to do something with Instagram. I've been trying to do a pick a day thing, and then I kind of came back to that, and I was like, you know what, that's the perfect thing. Trying to use, and maybe that'll alter as the next Instagram comes up. So that's kind of my personal challenge. We'll see how that goes. That and when I started my About Me account, about.me/Mike Sorg. Check that out. It's an interesting concept. But I realized I didn't have enough self-promotional pictures. So now I'll have way too many to choose from. So check that. And of course, all the shows going on sorgatronmedia.com. We're mostly back on schedule, except we canceled the music show for this week because I want to sleep in on Black Friday. I'll be too tryptophaned out to edit that thing. Again, hey, thanks, Jim, for being on. Rob, as usual, we'll be back next week. I think we have a special guest, not that week, the week after. You check the schedule over there at sorgatronmedia.com. We try to put all our guests in there, and you can follow the Google Calendar so you can see what's going on there. And follow at Jim Loke. Then you'll never get stuck in traffic again in Pittsburgh. Thanks, guys. You've been awesome. Chat room, you've been awesome. We'll see you guys next week.